All right, everyone, welcome to the call. I think Arena has the first question.
Hi, yes, that's correct. Very nice to meet you. It's an honor, to be honest, Sid. My question is, what technology are you quote unquote jealous of and would like to acquire if you have the opportunity to right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. Thanks for having the first question as well. I think HashiCorp Vault is a really interesting project. I think it makes sense to me that secrets are something you can just push the refresh button on, and then all the secrets in your organization are refreshed so that if someone's systems were compromised before, they no longer have access to secrets that they shouldn't have. It strikes me as an elementary technology that every company should use.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking. Michael.
Awesome. Hi, Sid. Nice to meet you. Yeah, so my question is, how do you define personal success, and how has that influenced what you've created at GitLab?
Yeah, I'm a very curious person. Like I like to understand how things work, and I want to kind of help build innovative companies. How does it influence what you've created with GitLab? I think that the two biggest decision we've taken at GitLab was make it a single application. And I think that was Camille's idea, and initially Dimitri and I were quite dismissive of the idea. I think it's a great thing that we weren't dismissive of the person, nor that we were dismissive of the fact that he brought up the idea. So apparently Camille felt encouraged to bring it up again and convince us. So if there's one thing I'd like our mission is everyone can contribute. Make sure that's true, that if an individual contributor or even someone from outside the company has a good suggestion, that we implement that.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, David.
Hi, Sid, it's Dunk. So I just wanted to ask you a question about, I've had a chance to look at kind of your high-level CEO metrics, the GitLab overall metrics. And as we talk about sales and marketing efficiency, I wondered if there's some things that we're not tracking that you'd like to see us tracking, or the key metrics that you're doubling down on where you want to see more focus, if it's CAC ratio or LTV, time to expand, things like that.
Yeah. So what we know is that if we increase, for every stage that a customer uses additionally, we increase conversion 3 times. That's the biggest lever we have. You can find the materials if you Google GitLab stages per user. That's the biggest lever we have to make everything more efficient. So to measure efficiency, I mean, IACV efficiency, 0.8 for next fiscal year. LTV to CAC ratio, it's about 3, but it's looking a bit weak in mid-market, according to what I saw from Craig. But I'm not so much interested in measuring it as in improving it. So I think stages per user is a very actionable way to improve it.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
And I guess I have the next question, which is really around our partner selection process and partner selection criteria. If you look at kind of our emphasis and focus on alliance partners and other potential channel partners, what would you say are the most important characteristics that you're looking for a partner to be successful with GitLab?
I think that the toughest thing with partners is kind of this kind of chicken egg problem of them doubling down on you. The easiest thing in the world is to sign up 100 resellers. The hardest thing is to have them train their people and kind of lead with GitLab as a solution. So in general, it's about are people able to double down on us? So right now, probably the weak pros of the world are a bit too big. So I'm glad we're not trying to boil the ocean. And we should make a few partners that are willing to invest very, very successful. And I think one challenge that we have is that partners are used to integrating products technologically. That is no longer needed with GitLab. That's the value we add. On the other hand, GitLab has a ton of functionality, and no company in the world is using all of it. So that's where the added value can come from, like just having the organization embrace all the different functionality of GitLab. So that's what they have to kind of change their mindset from integrating products to an adoption play. And might be hard. Maybe customers are not used to paying for that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot of partners that help customers, unwire their existing DevOps pipeline tools.
It's a good way to phrase it. Yeah, unwire them and then start using GitLab instead. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And maybe there's something we can change in the framing. Like,
yeah,
customers are reluctant to pay for adoption as a line item, even though they just saved a whole bunch of money in integrating products. So how can we make that a compelling offering?
Right.
Terry.
Yep. Hi. Nice to meet you, and hope you're doing well. I'm not going to ask a technical question because most of the time my mind revolves around like work and baby and family, and then food is pretty high on the priority list.
It is.
Wondering what your favorite food is to eat, and like, do you enjoy cooking?
Yeah. Thanks for that. And yeah, totally cool to ask family and friends questions here. It's encouraged. So thanks for that. We have a delivery service called Thistle, and they have great vegan meals, which my wife eats, but you can also add some meat to it. And it's super easy. So I have a salad every lunch, and I cook dinner, but it's like 5 minutes of just heating it up. You literally turn it over, add sauce, and it's done, and it's really good. So I'm really enjoying that. If I can order myself, according to my DoorDash account, I buy a schnitzel from a local bar and restaurant. So I enjoy eating a schnitzel.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm in Atlanta, so there's not a ton of schnitzel restaurant options around here.
There's only one here, too. So I guess that's my Dutch / substitute German roots.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. Claudia.
Yes, hi. I was just wondering, you have already achieved a lot as a visionary and a leader. What else do you want to achieve? What's your goal?
I hope to not take myself very seriously, and it feels. Thanks for calling me a visionary. It feels awkward, but it's much appreciated. What do I want to achieve? Like, I want to kind of help create innovative companies that have impact at scale. Lately, I've been racking my brain. There's a company I'm the sole owner of called Double GDP, And it aims to create more new cities because we think it's a great way to give people a better life and a better, more income. And their only customer is a city in Zambia called Nkwashi, but because of COVID, it's not going very well with the customer. So I've been racking my brain of how to help the customer. That's very near term, but I guess the double GDP thing is a bit longer term. As for GitLab, I think it's clear that our vision of a single complete DevOps platform delivered as a single application, that's now clear that is true. And there's going to be two. There's going to be us and GitHub. So now, instead of convincing the market they need a single application, I think that's going to take care of itself. Now we're going to make sure that GitLab is the winning one. And for that, it's all about adoption. The product is broad enough. It's now about having people kind of use all the functionality in the product. You might notice the similarity to the answer I gave Dunk a second ago, which is it's all about having people adopt more stages, and for our product managers to focus on stage monthly active users. How many people are using the functionality in your stage?
Thank you.
Thanks for asking. Beth.
Okay, hi. So tell me your magic secret for staying so on top of what's happening on Hacker News. I'm amazed. How often do you check in there to see what's newly posted? Because how can I beat you to it? That's what I need to learn.
Yeah, it's a very manual process. I check about, probably, if I'm honest with myself, at least once an hour, maybe twice an hour.
Okay. Awesome.
So GitLab, I got the idea I saw GitLab for the first time on Hacker News, and GitLab, the company, was started as a show Hacker News post. So it's very much top of mind for me.
Yeah, cool.
Hey Sid, good to meet you. I know you still spend a good chunk of your time programming, probably I would guess above average for CEOs, maybe not. And I know that it's probably hard to differentiate between personal work and GitLab work with your role, but I was wondering if there's a non-Rails framework or technology language that you're excited about, or if you've kind of done any, side tinkering lately.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I'm not doing a ton of programming. I had a big sprint where I made product analytics, but now I think I've convinced our product managers to embrace it as a GitLab feature, and I've convinced my co-founder to actually tidy up everything and ship it as a part of GitLab. So there's more qualified people now taking that over. And 2 weeks ago, I spent a bit of time on Bark. Bark is kind of an app for restaurants, and it's more, I have a blog post out there with all the reasons why it's going to fail. I just thought it was kind of fun to make it. But I've not done any programming since, and I've spent this weekend and tonight I'll spend time on Cities Skylines, a city build, kind of Sim City, but an updated version. It's been super fun designing the road network and things like that. So I can recommend that. As for the technologies, I have a bit of GraphQL backlash. Like, I think that people underestimate the security challenge of implementing GraphQL, and it seems to slow companies down as much as it speeds them up. It was fun and a challenge for me for product analytics to learn to program in Go. It was luckily quite easy to do. It's the first time I picked up another language. So I wasn't quite sure how that would go, but it was very doable, and it's kind of cool to program to make something multi-threaded. I've never done something like that before. And as for the technologies to watch, kind of, I think it's interesting kind of how React Native is developing, and makes me wonder whether Vue will get similar adoption, or like it's all going to be, the future is all going to be React. So it's been interesting to see that develop. It's also been fun is kind of the Rails renaissance. There still isn't like a comprehensive framework on JavaScript that's widely adopted. Meteor was, I mean, the people that got furthest, and Ember. But I kind of keep waiting for the Ruby on Rails of JavaScript. So are many other smart people, and I think we're all wrong. It's not going to happen somehow. And I want to say so are many smart people. What else going on? I think it's interesting to see Phoenix, the kind of Ruby on Erlang language, kind of become more advanced. That was a long and winding answer, but I hope I touched some of the stuff you were wondering about.
Yeah, thank you. I will say we used React Native at my last job for our mobile app, and we still had to maintain it as if it was a separate code base. Like it might as well have been in any language. It didn't. We didn't get the proposed benefits of having one code base.
Yep, I think that is very normal, and I'm the sole owner of a company called Tillig, which makes a password manager, and there we just have a different app for like JavaScript for the plugins in the website on Express, and native apps are just in the native languages, which makes it way easier to do everything, and very boring and very straightforward. And the only changes that they're rewriting the backend in Rails, and that's because it's just so easy to create something in Rails. Oh, and yeah, I have tweeted recently, there is a big initiative to make the Rails for JavaScript that came out recently. It's called the Redwood JS. I'm one of the GitHub founders. Any other questions?
Hey, Sid, it's Dunk again. I'd like to ask a question about kind of where we want to go with the analytics associated with our product offerings in terms of what do you think is the most important? Is it analytics around speed? Is it around efficacy? Is it, what are the really kind of what's your goal in terms of adding analytics into the platform?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we get a bit of analytics sprawl, which I've been also responsible, but we have code analytics, DevOps report, value stream management, and insights. So I think it's hard for people to understand what is what. And then the value we deliver with GitLab is cycle time, go faster. So helping people improve that. So I think one of the most important things, but people still want their boring metrics, boring as in a good thing.
Right.
They still want to see how many stories they closed every week. They still want to see how many errors were logged and things like that. And I also think we should make it super easy for people to focus on the right things. For example, in security, we surface how many security things there are open, which is not super useful. I couldn't tell from that whether you're successful or not. I want to see what the average speed to close is for what severity.
Right, and also whether or not the vulnerabilities are in the execution path of the code, right? Things like that.
Sure, that's a technical improvement, but just reporting wise, even with the data we have about vulnerabilities, like I don't want to see the number. I want to see how fast we're going, closing them. And if something isn't being tested, that's probably even worse than having it. So that should count as an even bigger problem. It should be even more top of mind in that dashboard instead of being ignored like it is today. So those are some of the quick takes there. Having great default states is important too. And I can kind of, suppose I go to our homepage and I'm like, oh, they do manage. Is it analytics or is it manage? Not sure. Maybe we should change this to analytics. I'm not against that.
So
anyway.
It's interesting because the hypothesis around an integrated platform isn't just speed, it's also the ability to get the end-to-end analytics that you need relative to predictability and efficiency and effectiveness. And so it would be interesting if it was a supporting bar that ran across all of the different categories, but showed what was specifically we're doing in that area. Because you can't get really good analytics for disparate products that are linked together with scripts, right? Getting that whole life cycle analytics is a weak point in most of the independent or point specific solutions.
Yep, I agree. And manage and or analytics is something that runs across the entire work stream. But then you open up value stream management. Oh, we've placed, okay, great, that's amazing. Video is great. And like, future feature, not actual screenshot, future feature. Oh, I guess there's nothing in GitLab today. That's strange. I thought they were selling that. Oh, okay. So it feels like we're on the cusp of being there, but we need to have kind of get a bit better at communicating what it can do and having great default states that just work out of the box. Give me what I want. Let's start with the engineering manager, who's the most likely person to use. I want to see how many story points we closed last week. I want to see how many that are per active developer, which is a great metric that we use ourselves. I want to see my cycle time. I want to see the error rate. I want to see some monitoring stuff. I want to see some security stuff. Just get that in a dashboard that works out of the box.
Sid, yeah, I think I've got another question. I'm in sales in the Bay Area, and I'm guessing you were probably technically the first salesperson at GitLab. I guess what advice do you have for me? My territory is fairly greenfield. I mean, the entire market is I guess still greenfield for us, but particularly my territory, I think I've only got 5 out of 22 customers that are existing. So yeah, just any advice going to these new customers?
Yeah, I would call obviously I was the first salesperson, probably also the worst salesperson in GitLab history. And then luckily Hayden joined us before we were even 10 people.
Fellow Australian.
Yeah, and I think I did a good job being able to convince him to join GitLab, or at least not be a stumbling block. He was super interested because he saw his customers switching over to GitLab, and convinced him to join. He didn't make quota his first year because there was too few opportunities, but I'm very glad he stuck with us. As for potential customers, marketing now has a big Google Sheet of all the people, of all the organizations that visited our docs. I think that's super interesting information because it tells you who's likely to already use GitLab to a certain extent. So I try to have a look at that, and then I think a lot of it is like finding the champion. So the hardest thing will be to like find who cares about GitLab here. That doc is an approach. There's a meetup group here in the Bay Area. It's on meetup.com. We can't have an in-person meeting right now, but maybe you can do a virtual event. And for sure, there's a lot of names in there. Try to find out where those people are now. Try to find out if they're using GitLab in some places. Because I think the most attractive companies are ones where it's not officially the company solution yet, but they're using it in the department, and you can find a champion there and work with that champion to kind of make the case to the broader business.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for asking. By the way, I sound like I know everything. I don't. And these are all like strong opinions, loosely held. But I think it's more interesting to kind of state them as kind of matter of fact. Obviously, I don't know how to best approach customers, but you've already heard all the other advice. So I trying to be additive to that.
I appreciate that.
Anybody who wants to verbalize a question, even though it's not typed up yet?
I'll have a quick one, maybe. Do you have a having run, I think, the world's largest remote only company? What is the like one must-have for your home office that you like absolutely like piece of equipment or workflow tip or whatever it is that absolutely must do as a new GitLab employee?
Amazing chair. Like even when we had very little money, I splurged on having a great chair. You only get one back, and that's the one thing that you're most likely to damage if you're working from home.
I have a question. There's a list of books in the handbook recommended that we can expand. What is the one book that you would recommend, like the best book that you have read?
Yeah, it should be at the top of that list, and it's High Output Management by Andy Grove. It's not a lot of pages, but it's just chock full of super useful management advice.
Thanks.
Cool. Well, if there's no more questions, thanks so much for joining GitLab. Thanks for the questions. If you have any questions in the future, there's a CEO channel, and you're encouraged to ask questions in there.
Thanks,
Thank you
Sid.
so much.
Sid.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.